Howdy Hive Scum, and welcome back to the last in my Less is More Chaos Raptor series. Games Workshop were kind enough to send me the Raptors from Kill Team, so I've painted up all 6 of them in different legions of Chaos, and this one is the last, the Chaos Lord, a model that is incredibly detailed and somewhat overcomplicated. I decided to paint in the scheme of course, the dreaded Black Legion. Like the other Raptors I did in this series, I first, before priming, added some Typhus Corrosion to the miniature in some key areas to add some extra texture before going in and priming with Chaos Black Spray. Again, these schemes are designed to be very easily achievable for new painters. They are not overly complex and they strip back the color palette and make things very easy to achieve in a very short space of time, yet add a nice bit of punch and quality to your table. These aren't Golden Demon standard paintings, and I do go a bit further normally in my own personal painting. However, that is not the point of this series. This series is all about less is more, and if you've watched any of the other videos, hopefully you enjoy this one too. Kicking things off, we are going with Corvus Black as an all-over highlight sponged onto this Abaddon Black primed miniature. This just gives the black a little bit more punch in a sort of turquoise sort of direction overall. I tend to do all my black armor like this, and then honestly, I pretty much leave it there after this stage. Typically, Black Legion are depicted as black and gold. However, I tend to prefer a slightly more bronze tone in my Black Legion, I reckon, and I just prefer Balthazar Gold as a color over any of the other Citadel colors myself. So Balthazar Gold is what we're going for a bit more of a dirty bronze. I'm going to use the Balthazar Bronze for all of the trim on this miniature. In the other videos, you'll notice that I didn't actually do any of the trim on the Night Lord, on the Iron Warrior, or any of the others. I decided though, with Black Legion, it is kind of their thing, so having to do a two-tone of black and gold, or bronze in this case, is quite important for Black Legion to actually look like Black Legion. Doing all the trim can take a bit of time, but it's not an overly complicated process, and we're not going to be adding too many highlights to this either. We're keeping things simple, just adding the Balthazar Bronze for now. Once we've done the trim, we're going to hit all of those trim details with some Voodoo Shade from Army Painter, perhaps in 2 coats if you want things to look nice and deep and grimdark. To do all of the metal areas on this miniature, the claws and any other key details like the head of the axe, I'm using Army Painter Heavy Metal now. A splash of colour now with Evil Sun's Scarlet on any little red areas that you want. Any accent colours on this miniature, we're going to go with red as it works well with the black and gold, or in this case bronze. Using Wraithbone to base coat all of the skulls on the mantle, as well as the horns, or any other skulls or bone details on this miniature are in Wraithbone. Going back to the heavy metal now, we're going to coat that with some Rattling Grime contrast paints. I do find this is one of my favourite contrast paints to add over metal, particularly just to give it that grimdark feel. Citadel Contrast Skeleton Horde now all over the bone and horn details. Following up with some Voodoo Shade to darken things down on those bone areas as well. Gorthor Brown, a nice light chocolatey brown, is used on the haft of the axe and any leather details like the belt that we see on this miniature. We're then going to give a wash of Carroburg Crimson to all of the red areas from earlier, giving a bit more richness and depth to those reds. Highlight of Sycorax Bronze onto all of the trim details, just on the highest, most raised areas and points now. You don't have to do this, but it just adds a little bit more pop to this miniature overall. A final pinpoint highlight of Runefang Steel, the brightest silver from Citadel. This is just in some key areas, rivets and points to break up some of the blocky looking parts of the armor. Once we've done all that, we're going to hit the entire miniature with some gloss varnish, and then we're going to go in with some Goon's Grime enamel wash. This is going to give a slightly greenish tinge, which really works quite well with the black, dulling down the armor and making it look a bit dirtier in the recesses, as well as aging the metals appropriately too. We're going to leave that to dry for about 10 minutes and then come back in with a cotton bud dipped in mineral spirits, and we're going to clean off the excess on the surface areas, leaving the Goon's Grime in the deepest of recesses. A couple of little details I did afterwards, the little gem on the belt there, as well as the eyes. Pretty simple. I also added a few little splashes of blood to this miniature, but nothing else really. Things are kept pretty simple on this one. I have to say, this is probably my least favorite of the Raptors that I've done here, and I'm less excited about it. I think overall the miniature reads as a Black Legion Chaos Lord. I think the problem for me is that this is an overly busy model and an example of where Citadel miniatures can be a little bit too much. Even trying to strip things back and keep things really simple with this less is more scheme, I still found it quite complex and overly just a bit too detailed for my tastes, at least. I think the other Raptors are nice and simple compared to this, and again, you don't have to do the trim, but I do feel like if I left the trim out, it just wouldn't really read as Black Legion. Anyway, be nice to know what you think down in the comments down below. Does this sort of match the others in this series? I'm not so sure generally, but I'm fairly happy with it overall, and it's a nice, simple, quick way to paint the Black Legion Marines as well. So if you like this scheme and this is for you, then absolutely run with it, and you could easily pump out an entire army of these guys in very little time. That's all for now. I'll be back with another video really soon. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Please make sure to drop a like, a comment down below as well, and most importantly, subscribe to help me out growing this channel to 40,000, which is exactly what I want. Then I can retire happy and actually take a day off at some point. Thanks for watching.